Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Portsmouth Coffee Talk. Of course, this is Slim Overton here, and I'm here with Louis Bracy, uh, a regular, a guest host here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. A regular, he's been a regular for a while, and with all the things that went on today, we just wanted to come on here and pop up here and just have a discussion about what went on, especially kind of concerning the First Amendment and some other topics that have been going on. And, it's important to get, and everybody knows now that they arrested Don Lemon, who is one of the biggest independent journalists. And he's a professional journalist. He spent almost 25 years at CNN,
Yes.
where he had to sort of hold back on a lot of things. But you could see uh, sometimes on his show there, he would say a little bit more than some of the other commentators, but he was kind of held back. And I think when he started saying more, that's when they said, "Hey, you got to go." But
Hmm.
he just bounced right back and went right into the independent journalist mode, which you can see the freedom in him now, and something that probably was in him all along, like a
Yes.
lot of the other journalists, Joy Reid and of course Roland Martin and all those people. But it's just so important with them arresting him, and the reason they went after him because he has a big name, big following, and they trying, it's like Gestapo. They just trying a scare tactic. Anybody else that's not as big as Don Lemon, look what we can do to one of y'all biggest contributors. And so y'all better watch what you say. You better watch out. And one of the things I did and I'll get to you, Louis, I did a pop-up post on Facebook today, and I was talking about the importance of even guys like me and you, Louis,
Hmm.
and, you know, need to be speaking up, whether we got one, two, or three, or five, or 100,000 people watching us, we got to stand in the gap as well because they could come after us too. But the likelihood of that happening now, it won't happen. But we need to be anybody that has a mic and that has some kind of platform. You need to be speaking up just like those big guys because they're going after the big guys, trying to shut everybody else up. But it's people locally here, wherever we live, and Lewis is in Maryland and I'm here in the city of Portsmouth, Virginia. And the people that we can reach, we need to be continuing to talk uh, or to let people know. And it's not a whole lot to know because they're doing things right in your face.
Hmm.
The last things, and Lewis, you can get to this, the last, situations we saw with in Minnesota, you know, uh, it's like you remember the joke that Richard Pryor had long time ago. He said, "Well, you gonna believe me or your lying
You
eyes?"
lying.
I forget the premise of the joke, but I remember that that ending line, and it is exactly what they're doing. I mean, they know we are seeing what's going on, but they still get up there and tell us, "No, you didn't see that. You didn't see that, Ray Charles. You didn't see that, Stevie Wonder. You didn't see that." But this is what really happened. But we saw the tapes, and they know it. But they haven't had a whole lot of pushback thus far because he's been doing the same lying since his first administration. And many of
Hmm.
the people on these local shows like we have now, we've
Yeah.
been saying that. Surely Lewis has been saying that on these shows and proving it out there on the ground, demonstrating and talking directly to some of the Trump supporters. So it's not like you didn't know. It's just you didn't want to believe it. I guess everybody wants to live in like a utopia. Everything is perfect, but nothing ever going to be perfect. But the things you see with your own eyes,
That's yeah. That's
you
what
have to believe that. You have to believe.
that. First thing, thank you very much for having this special episode
Yeah, and thanks
because,
for agreeing to come on at such a short notice.
well, like I say, I'm retired. I'm always ready. So, and as you know, I'm up early, and
Yes.
I was up early today. and my wife, she would attest to the fact I woke up mad, and, and I've been pissed off ever since.
Yeah,
So,
even before he got arrested, we had enough to be mad at because of all the previous situations.
well, I was like I say, I was up, let's say around 6:15 or 6:30, and then I believe the lady Georgia was arrested around 6:30. I think John Living may have been around a similar time, but he was in L.A. So
Yeah,
I think it was because it must have came across the wind that we're gonna have more bad news when we wake up again. Because every day you wake up,
it's
all you
something.
expect to hear is bad news. It's always
Yeah,
something. It's like people, and you know this yourself. A lot of people get upset with me for a lot of reasons, and one of them is because of how relentless I've been on this subject.
hmm
And when everything keeps coming out to be true, as I've told people it was going to be, then it's some of them get upset because it comes out to be I told you so.
yeah,
You know,
and you don't even have to say "I told you so." They if they remember he did say that.
yeah, but you know how some people are. They have short memories,
Yeah,
and they don't want to give you credit and
right.
for certain things. But like I say, I woke up this morning already mad because I knew I was gonna hear something stupid. And so about 7:15 is when the first word came around who was arrested first. And then I said, they're going after Don Lemon next. Next thing you
hmm
know, 2 minutes later, it came across that he had been arrested also. But I don't want people to forget the fact that there's two candidates in Minnesota. One of them had been an elected official before that was arrested along with him on the same date by the same FBI people.
Yeah,
A lot of people focus on Don Lemon and Georgia, but it's two other African Americans were arrested who was at that same church, and neither all of these people was in their First Amendment rights to do what they've done. As
yeah,
journalists, they're protected by the First Amendment. That's the first thing all these white people always whine about, next to the Second Amendment. And then you have elected officials who, because they are elected official or even running for office, they are authorized to be in all of these places and say what they want to say. So this Nazi fascist regime that's masquerading itself as the president of the United States have clearly shown that we are back into the days of 1940, really 1937, 1938 in Nazi Germany, when Hitler took over, and how he gradually stormtrooped his way through Europe and Germany.
yeah, man, and it's so crazy, and you know the way they did it, and think about and I was watching TV today, and several attorneys were on the Don Lemon show. People stepped in and made sure
Yes,
his
I
show
watched it.
came on, and some of the things we know, but it's good to hear it from the attorneys too. It's a way, unless you killed somebody or you really committed some sort of heinous crime, they usually call you and let you turn yourself in. I mean,
Yes,
I think most of those people that under the Trump regime the first time that went to jail, those guys walked in, you know, and they had done something more serious than what they're accusing these people of. And especially the reporter, they went to the house, and had all these people outside her house and scaring the kids. People they have no compassion
get
for the
on.
kids.
They
And
don't.
when it came down to it, the judges, no bond and let them walk out on their own reconnaissance. You don't get to walk out like that with no bond unless it's was something that is not serious, like they were trying to make this thing be. They wanted a bond, and they want. I mean, they just wanted to. Uh, they wanted to the world to see, him being arrested, her being arrested, so they could make a thing. Just like the what's the other lady they arrested, and then they did an AI of her
Yeah, Jordan.
crying, but she
Hmm.
actually didn't do
Yeah,
that. and that was out of the White House.
Yes.
You know, and like I said earlier on the Facebook thing, you would think they might have done that would have come out of Douglas Park Elementary. And for those that don't understand, Douglas Park Elementary is a elementary school here in city of Portsmouth that I attended along with Truxton. And then I had to apologize for them elementary kids because even they wouldn't try nothing like that. But this is coming out of the White House. I mean, this is kind of leadership we have, and it's just destroying us throughout the world. It's embarrassing us. You know, we're not ashamed of being Americans, but we're ashamed of how our leadership is portraying us. And I hope all the people, most of the people over the world that had kinship with us, see what's really happening and just don't take it out on and think that most of the Americans feel the way that this guy does. Well, and I think they are smart enough not to see.
Yeah. Let me follow up on something that you said.
Go ahead.
When you were talking about how they went around the system. Now, Pam Bondi went and was rejected by 2 federal judges. Both those federal judges were appointed by Republican administration. I know one of them was appointed by Bush.
Yeah.
And he even wrote his reasoning as to why the arrest request was invalid. Okay. Then she went to another person, another federal judge, another Republican judge, and they received the same thing. Then somewhere between the last request around 8 something yesterday and sometime this morning, they convened grand jury. Now, who can find a legal grand jury after 8 p.m. yesterday? And then you're going to make this arrest based on a grand jury without it being signed off by a judge. And they said that today, unless something has changed, okay? Now, not only did she go around 2 federal judges, which is in itself is a violation. A lot of people don't know that the judges can pull you back.
And this is going to come back on them at
and
some point.
And they're not going to do it. But the point is they could do it, you know. So this woman, not only did she go around 2 judges, she convened what I want to call a midnight massacre of grand jury out of nowhere that just popped up out of nowhere. And then she's going to send the FBI after these people when, and this is what I'm stopped with, when they expected it and they already had made arrangements with their lawyers for they can come in, as you said, to turn yourself in. Once you have already made that connection with the legal authorities through your attorneys to turn yourself in, they have no reason to come looking for you. All you need to do is to call them and say, it's 4 o'clock, turn yourself in, be here by 4:30. If not, we sending somebody after you.
And
something along those lines. Okay.
Then you send somebody after them. And most people are going to comply because they know if they don't, they're going to be arrested and it's going to be a public spectacle.
And the sheriff's going to come to your house and they're going to be a big mess.
Yeah.
Now, they avoided that. And when I was with my wife, we were riding around, as I say, we went out to try to get some fresh air. I was with my wife, and I was saying how they made a point from the White House to say, we put chains, CHANI, as chains on Don Lemon. They didn't say handcuffs.
Yeah.
They said change.
And you know what that's a reference.
You know what they wanted that to mean.
Yeah.
They wanted to put the slave connotation on it. They could have said, we took Don Lemon on the perf walk in handcuffs. They could have said that. But no, they wanted to say we went and did it in chains. And they know what that means. Now, this is the administration where, and I know you're a nicer person than I am, but I'm gonna call her what she is. She's a political whore. Nicki Minaj had went and kissed Donald Trump's ass because one thing, she was an illegal alien. Her husband is a pedophile. Her brother is a convicted pedophile. Well, let me change that because they might want to sue me, and I hope they will. Come sue me, please. And
Yeah, just
well, let me
just
say,
put,
her
just
husband,
put
yeah,
allegedly
her
with it,
husband
and that protection.
was had a case and they settled it, but it had to do with being a pedophile. Okay, documented facts. Her brother is a convicted pedophile. Okay, who has to sign in everywhere he goes and say that he's a child predator. Now, and so she wants to look out for all of them to stay here. Now, personally, and I wrote this, we, meaning African people in the African American community, should not be defending anybody who does things like that to children. And then you're going to have somebody like Nicki Minaj who's going to front for these people. If you molested a child, if you as a grown-ass man going to have sex with somebody under the age of 18, and these girls was around 13 to 14, by the way, you don't need to be protected, and you should not be protected by anyone because it is wrong all kinds of ways. You can't defend that. But here it is, and you know this yourself. The same two sentences before Charlie Kirk was murdered, because I'm not going to give him the honor to say he was assassinated. When he was murdered, 2 sentences before that, the name that was on his lips was Nicki Minaj. And not on her, I think Cardi B was on the thing is. He degraded these people not only 2 sentences before he died, he degraded these women, both of them, relentlessly throughout his short life. Now, the Trump administration did the same thing. Donald Trump disparaged both of them from the stage. Both of them. Now, I don't give a damn about rap. I always said that it's the worst thing that ever happened to black people. And I know all kinds of black people give me all kinds of hell for saying it. And then they give me all these excuses of what it done for the community. Yeah, you tell me, really, all the money that they have made, I want you to really tell me what have rap music really done for the black community. How many universities have they built? How many scholarships have all of them given out total? How many skyrise have they built in any city in the United States of America? You give me the list. Now I can tell you, rap have made billions and billions of dollars. These rap performers have made millions and millions of dollars. Okay, yeah. I would challenge anybody who defends rap music to sit up here and tell me just how much it had been to the community. Don't tell me how much it's been good to them. Tell me what good overall has rap music displayed and have a board of accomplishments to get us ahead in this country called the United States of America. I challenge anybody, and I would debate anybody. James, you could set it up.
Yeah, I was going to say that, it might have been some of them that done some things in the community, but, they really degrade themselves when they turn around and capitulate for Trump. It just wipes, in my eyes, it wipes all that stuff out, whatever they've done or say they've done in the community. Okay, if you felt that strongly about the community, you don't see that you are now bowing down to the devil, and take Nicki Minaj. Okay, they know how to find these people, and then they use them up and throw them away. Omarosa, countless of them. We had what's the guy Herman, the guy that died not wearing a mask at a Trump rally.
Yeah, he died. He died the next week.
Yeah, because they said you don't have to wear. All those people they used and all those guys they used when he was campaigning. You don't even know where they are now. But Nicki Minaj. Okay, at one time you talk about the rap game in the women's world. She was on top. She was it. She was one of the premier rap artists. You had some way before her, but for her time, she was the queen. Then all these other young ladies start coming along and sort of pushing her out. So then she started doing crazy stuff to keep herself in the limelight, you know. But the other girls wouldn't bite to that point, you know, because they had more of a purpose. And then all of a sudden, then they found out, like the Rose girl, I can't think of her first name, but Rose some. But anyway, they find out that Trump can take them in, and they might be able to pardon,
Yeah,
you know,
yes.
these people that or might be able to, she might
Little
be able to
Wayne
make
and
some money.
that other fool. I can't remember the other fool's name.
Yeah, Lil Wayne and even well, several of them have done that, and not only rappers, but a lot of other people too. And you know it's a purpose, and they're gonna use her, and you know they just need a face. They always need a face out there because they think those people they put out there is gonna draw all the black people to their favor. And what they don't realize sometimes the black people have already dismissed those people.
Well, but
You know, I think they pretty much has already, a lot of them had already dismissed Nicki Minaj because she had done some things against her own sisters, you know, fellow rappers. You know, why can't y'all share the limelight? Why you got to be putting each other down? So a lot of people had already dismissed her. So she was looking for somewhere to go with all the issues that she has. And the Trump people, they know how to find those people. They stand there with their hands out, come here, and we'll give you the limelight. And she really looks like a fool, you know,
Yes.
to us.
Well, look,
You know.
you can help me out because I think you may be a little bit more connected to this world than I am. I just barely know who Carla B is. All I know that her and Nicki Minaj has beef.
Yeah,
But
because
you
Carla
answer this
B
question.
came a little later, you
Yeah.
know, and
Could you answer
and
this
sort of
question?
threatened her, you know.
Yeah, answer this question for me and other old people like myself who listen to the shows like this.
I might be able to
Who
answer.
would you say if you were to list? Because I know you stay closer in the music world than I did.
Not
If you
so
were
much
to
in the
say
rap.
who were the top 5 female rappers, who would you say they are?
I don't know. I'm not a rap fan, but you know, I got to go back to those sisters back in the day, like Queen Latifah. I didn't keep up as much, but I know coming up to the modern days, I know Cardi B had a certain vibe with her with the young people that was different than with Nicki Minaj. I think she was more of on a positive thing, and that's why Nicki Minaj felt threatened. You know.
What about the
And
sister from Portsmouth?
oh yeah, oh I forgot about her. Yeah.
Who live right around the corner from you? Did she
Oh,
live with
somebody just put up their salt and pepper. And you caught me. You got a street here in Portsmouth named after. Wow, what's her name? But anyway, keep talking. Her name will come to. This is an old man's brain freeze. But yeah, of course, she was a premier rapper here, better than all the ones that are new.
That's what I was thinking. So
really better than Nicki Minaj. More creative, more inventive, and so I never did really get into her, except when I started seeing all Missy Elliott. Somebody, thanks, Shona. That's Shona Choke. Thanks, Shona, for helping us old guys up here.
Yeah.
But Missy Elliott, you know, I mean, who was better than her? And you know, she has given. People don't know how much she has given back to Portsmouth and the Portsmouth schools because she doesn't advertise it. But she's not out there capitulating either. She's not out there, you know, doing all this crazy stuff for the MAGA movement. She's staying true to her people and where she came from.
Yeah.
She knows who she is. So.
Well, I was offended for female rappers because when the Orange Pumpkin fought back came up and said, "Oh, I'm with the greatest female rapper of all time," I would think. Now my brain automatically went to Queen Latifah. You know,
Queen Latifah, and it was
I
one.
I know she's a different generation now,
But
but
it was one before her.
yeah, it was one before her.
That kind of started the female rap.
Not to mention those girls who used to sing, the 3 girls who used to sing together, those 3 rap girls that got famous for being crazy.
You're not talking about Salt and Pepper, but you're talking about
Salt and Pepper, and the other one, the three girls.
Well, we can agree that they were much better than
Lisa
Nikki.
Left Eye Lope, that group.
Yeah, they were much better than her in our opinions. Maybe some of the younger people could let us know. TLC, John Gans. Thanks, John, cousin John Gans from Texas, letting us know it's TLC. Thank goodness for all the people coming up here and helping us get the cobwebs out of our heads and remember these groups. Only thing I can remember is, the Temptations and and the Stylistics and those groups like that. But anyway, that's how they find those people like that need something, that are in need for something, and that's how they get them. Now, if she didn't, she got this big lawsuit where she is threatening her mansion. If she didn't have all these needs, I don't know, and I can't say it for sure because she might be in that mentality where she might have gone that way anyway. But most of the times, those people that go that way, they have some kind of need, something they need, either psychological or monetarily, that they need, that the MAGA group will offer them, at least offer them exposure.
Right.
When the exposure that they had at one time might be dying because other people are coming up and taking that shine away from them. And then, they might have done some crazy things that just didn't endure them with the public like they used to. So,
well, this is the thing with people like that, and it really gets on my nerve, is that there always are Toms, and I didn't want to say Uncle Tom because I don't want to get into these educated people who keep wanting to defend who Uncle Tom really was. Well, we know why they made the term Uncle Toms. It means that you were being servile, right. And so I've been cutting it down to just saying Toms and Coons and Sambos. But
yeah, I mean the term Uncle Tom was describing a certain type of person, and then it came out later the real person that they call Uncle Tom wasn't like that. But we weren't really putting him down. We were putting down what the image of that type of person,
right.
Like.
And that's the thing I keep trying to get across.
The kind of guy that Sammy Jackson played in Django.
Yeah,
that was a real Uncle Tom.
Yeah, then that's an Uncle Tom, and he's a coon and he's a Sambo. And that's the same thing with Nicki Minaj and other people like her. And like I say, those other rappers that we mentioned, you get in trouble overseas for drugs, so you in trouble there, and then you could be in trouble when you come back here. Okay, so who you do? What do you do? Oh, Donald Trump said all of us are criminals, and that black people believe in him because he has a rap sheet. Because all of us have a rap sheet, and I don't have one. I know you don't have one. Mm-hmm. So let's go to Donald Trump and he'll hook us up.
Yeah.
What do? They
chew them up and then spit them out.
$1 million. Then they get off. Then you got some of the worst child traffickers who have been arrested internationally for being a child trafficker, and you're an American citizen. So what do? You go to Donald Trump, you give him $1 million, and then all of a sudden you get everything get commuted. Then you have a president of a country who is working with Al Chapo, who sold 400 million, a billion pounds of drugs into this country, and somebody tell you, oh, he was set up by Joe Biden. And so it was a Joe Biden witch hunt, even though things started under his administration. Everybody keep forgetting that. So then you give this criminal president who didn't do nothing but sell drugs in this country with Al Chapo, and then you let him go. Oh, let me throw this other thing out. I think a lot of people have forgotten who living in this country right now almost rent-free. The relatives of Al Chapo. They live in the United States of America, almost rent-free. Now, why are the relatives of Al Chapo living in the United States of America, why haven't they been deported? You see,
yeah,
we have this administration that not only have they broken every vestige of anything that we have ever believed in, they do it repeatedly and they do it directly in your face. And I hate to say it, but and we still here. And so now we have this man who his own people have murdered cold-blooded. Now, as I kept telling people, and you know, I've been on the street ever since 2016. Now everybody gonna be shocked for the very first time to hear me say this, and I'm saying it because you know I've already written it. I'm telling black folks to stay home. I'm telling you know all these ministers I don't think much of either. If you a minister in the United States of America, call your denomination, call your order, and ask them to make a public service announcement to tell all black people to stay home and don't march and protest or anything that has to do with against Donald Trump. And you know that hurts me to say that because I'm still gonna do my thing.
Yeah.
But realistically, I'm at this point now where I want to say I don't want a single black person who's a conscious African American, or even some of them who are unconscious, who's on drugs or whatever, to die because of Donald Trump.
So let me ask you this, and let me say this. John Gans, thanks for, Stephen was the Uncle Tom on Django. And John Gans, I sent you an invite if you want to come on. I sent it to the thing that has cloud in it, your email. So if you want to come on, it's there for you. But what you're saying about the marching now, because one thing is true, you know, the reason we kind of stayed out of a lot of the, you know, not the local things that you do, but the big marches, because if the more black people in the big marches, the more police that would have drawn out, and you would have really seen something. And that's what they want. That's what they're trying to do. That's why they got arrested for black people. They're trying to get us stirred up enough to come out. And all we have to do is come out in numbers. And they'll put the agitators in there.
Oh, yes.
They'll put the agitators in there, and then that'll give them the reason to fight back and declare martial law and all that. It all is coming down to they trying to disrupt this midterm because they see the writing on the wall. And one thing about it, we always say, they always got some kind of strategy going. They'll see things happening, and they say, okay, what we're going to do. That's why we see something different every day. And Steve Bannon told us this long time ago. This is the strategy. And, you know, and that's one thing. To sit there like they did for years, way back there, and just tell you their strategy. Nothing in secret, none behind. Well, they had certain things behind closed doors. But they sit there and tell you, okay, the best way, we just keep throwing stuff at you day after day. And while you dealing with this, we over here doing that. And while you dealing, and as soon as you get over that, we'll put something else out there. It might be crazy. It might be half truth. It might be a total lie. But whatever it does, it'll take up space in the news arena and have you talking about that for a few days. And they still, I mean, and it's working. I mean, they do it every day. And it takes up space. You know, you're talking about, I mean, when's the last time they brought up Epstein? I mean, people are bringing it up, but on a full scale like it was at one time. You know, so you know, it's just crazy how they can forecast what they're doing, and it works for the most part.
I'm glad you.
We just take our attention away from whatever we should be paying attention to and should be concentrating on until we get the answers. They're never going to give up all of those files, but they're coming out little by little. But by the time they come out, he's going to say stuff in advance of it, like they're trying to get me, and they're going to have, you know, that's why they pushing AI so much, because anything that comes out of there, they're claiming, they're blaming it on AI.
Yes.
And they're the ones that's using it more than anybody else.
Anybody else. That's right. That's
So,
right.
we just have to. I mean, I think I can give credit to a lot of the local places, and I reference where you are because y'all really are on top, and that's what I really know about because of you. That y'all have a strategy and a plan for how you all want to put your boots on the ground and the purpose y'all are out there for. But an overall plan to combat their national plan that they keep putting out here, they always got a alternative. Whatever happens, whenever we kind of almost get the goods on them, or we got the goods on them, they'll go. Oh, they're getting a plane and fly and say we want Greenland. And now everybody's talking about how you gonna get Greenland, or he'll go over there and insult the UN. You know, and while we still talking about the UN and how he insulted, he done already flew back here.
Yes.
And doing whatever he's going to do and making plans to arrest Don Lemon, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, you know, I'm glad you brought up Epstein. And here it is, it's Friday. And one of the things that you know that administrations always do, they always like to drop bad news on Fridays.
Yeah.
And today they release the allegedly millions of files on Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
The last time they did it was on a Friday. Okay. Every time this administration, and be honest, I'm being very honest and fair, even Democrats, if they don't want bad news out, they wait until Friday after 5 o'clock for the news cycle. Or they might do it Saturday morning when they know nobody's paying attention to. But on this Epstein file, that a lot of people don't want to pay their attention to, they have already released like 300,000 pages. Do you know, and this is what people really should pay attention to and wake up to, do you know how bad of a human being you have to be for the government to have over 3 million files on you? One person. You know, you really haven't heard people talk about that. Al Capone, who considered one of the most well-known criminals in America, he had on a few thousand pages on him. You could mention almost any mafia figure, Meyer Lansky, any of those people. Matter of fact, you could put any 10 mafia figures in the United States of America, and none of them will have more files than in the Epstein files. Now, I think people should really, really think about that. Now, you think about just somebody that you know, you pick any person you know who got a criminal record, and they throw in parking tickets. You might find that this person, he robbed somebody, he slapped his wife when he was a domestic dispute, and he didn't pay his parking tickets. He might have 10 files on him, most, okay? I have a friend of mine that was definitely monitored by the FBI. He had about 1,000 pages on him. And this is from following him for 10 years. He had like 1,000 pages. Now, this Epstein character, by the day's count, has 3,300,000 pages on him. Shouldn't that tell people something about the character and the type of scumbag that this person is? And this is, and we haven't even talked about how he became this financial person that he became. You notice that they have not even said, how did this person, other than the fact he knew two wealthy people who he did some crooked deals for, who hooked him up on the side.
Yeah,
that does not equate to you being able to own and have enough money to have your own private jets and your own private island.
Private island, which is
your own private island. I mean, come on, man. Why haven't we stormed the Bastille?
Evidently, it's a lot of money in trafficking human beings. You know, ask the slave traders. They know how much money is in trafficking human beings. But
yes.
Yeah, and
you know, I want to we got to keep this point. Underage young ladies, okay? Now, even if some of these underage young ladies was what we used to call back in the day fast, and some of them were fast, as we know legally, they say that some of us males, they say our brain don't reach maturity. We pass 21, 22 years old. And it's the same thing goes for some of these women. Your brain don't work right at a certain point in your life. And we got to give, we got
They
to
might mature physically quicker than us, but and certain things they have to deal with as a female that we don't. But the brain, you know, as far as fully functioning, it's like in the 20s.
That's
you know,
right.
And sometimes it never gets that way.
And that could make you gullible.
Sometimes you could be almost 80 and still
that
have.
Could make you gullible to do certain things.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that some of these young ladies, in the back of their head, they may have known they was being taken advantage of. But if these people keep telling them and showing them all these rich people that can give them the lifestyle they want to live, I have no doubt that some of the girls went along with it. But still, as a judge to say, if you and I
to a certain
go to court,
extent, until they figured out this is not
if
right.
You and I go to court, the judge is not going to care as long as they were 16, 17, or under 18 years old.
Right.
The judge is going to say, what, like you say, with your Pryor and the Richard Pryor thing, what you gonna be doing for the next couple of years, Mr. Pryor? You know, because you didn't pay his taxes. So that's what they would say to you and me if we were to be caught having sex with a 14, 13, 15, 16, or 17-year-old girl. And I have actually been in court, and you may have heard stories yourself of people that had sex and got caught with an underage girl. It's always the same thing. I don't care how she dressed. I don't care what she said. I don't care what she acted.
She looked older. She
was underage. You going to jail.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that. They don't even play with that. They don't even play with, oh, Your Honor, I didn't know. Even if the girl there's a case right here in Maryland. Some young girls went to a bar as with fake IDs, and some things happened, and some men had sex with them and all that kind of stuff. They even presented their fake IDs. Where they at now? They're still in Maryland State Penitentiary. You know, so that's how. Careful. Yeah, that's what happened to regular people.
Yeah, the law will go by their birth certificate.
Yeah,
and
what happened
birth certificate
when you were hooked up with people like Donald Trump? What did Todd Blanche say today? He said that the wealthy people on this list, their names would not be mentioned. Now, I'm gonna throw one name out there for everybody know who he is. Woody Allen. Woody Allen
been out there for years.
Visitor to Epstein Island. This is the man who screwed his own daughter when she was underage. Do you think that his underage teenage daughter that he had sex with was the only young person that Woody Allen did not have sex with, knowing that Woody Allen loved young, tender, young ladies? And Woody Allen was a frequent visitor to Epstein Island. Now, let's think about that. We got one name alone.
Yeah, that was one guy that nobody was surprised. Nobody was surprised to see his picture.
Yes, Woody Allen. that like I say, you guilty just by association. What did our parents used to always tell, especially your father? People judge you by who you hang around.
Yeah.
Is that not correct?
Yeah.
Now here it is. We got a certified, admitted, if nothing else, he's a molester of women because he's the one who said he can grab them by the vagina. Okay. Now, then you have his ace boon coon, Jeffrey Epstein, that had already been in prison for having sex with 49 young girls in Florida. Donald Trump's attorney, one of his attorneys that's in the Justice Department right now, worked out the deal where he only admitted to 2 of them, and then they gave him a sweetheart deal, let him out on the weekends, and never monitored him when he was in a so-called federal prison. And he served 13 months. But when you read the files, go back and read the files. I keep telling people, don't believe me. Don't believe one word that I say. Go back and read the actual case. There were 49 young girls under the age of 18 who made statements against Jeffrey Epstein. So he goes to jail for 13 months in a country club prison, right? And then you hear all these names that keep coming up, like Bill Gates. I mentioned Woody Allen, Richard Branson. You can and then several attorneys that used to be very prominent Democratic type attorneys that are now all of a sudden they done changed their tune.
Mhm.
You know, now they all for Trump. Why? Because when you go back and look at all the pictures, you see these rich, white, in some cases Jewish attorneys with these young girls all over them. And they got the pictures now. I don't know how many they're gonna redact.
Yeah, but it's enough. I mean, it's almost like we don't need more. I mean, because with all the things that they're doing to distract, or we know it must be enough in there that can put Trump under the jail for them to go through all this trouble not to release them files, especially when they started out saying, "Oh yeah, that was what they were pushing for," probably thinking that it never will happen. When they were running the first time, they wanted to blame Biden, or whoever for not releasing the files or their Justice Department and all that. And then when they got them and started going through them, and Trump knew that he was in there, but when they got him and started going through it, they said, "Hey, wait a minute, Trump, we can't release this."
Yep.
And maybe he didn't know that it was so extensive because Epstein was keeping all that stuff. I guess he was thinking down there. He said, one day I might need this, but
and he said it.
Yeah.
You remember he said it. He
Yeah.
said it. And his own family have said it. He said himself that he was holding on to these last couple of dice, so to speak, in case he needed to roll the dice. He said this in his own words. Maxwell, his horrible human being of a woman who set up all these young girls, she said it herself. She said it recently that Epstein had things on people, and that's one of the ways Epstein, got in power. It was that he kept things on people.
Yeah.
His own brother said the man had a vault of videos of prominent people having sex. The person, Michael Wolff, who did the book, who wrote the books, he was Epstein's biographer and he was Trump's biographer, who'd have been out, and now Melania is all on him because he done told all the truth about her. And he say, "I dare you to sue me. I dare you." And he called her bluff.
Yeah.
Is he being sued now? No, he's not. You know why? Because he called her bluff. And this is what pisses me off.
Now she might have to.
Banks and lawyers.
She might have to testify.
Who keep buckling down to Trump when they will beat him in court 7 days a week. 7 days out of the week they'll beat him. But anybody who ever calls their bluff have always won because the Trump administration attorneys are so incompetent and they don't do the homework. They lose almost every time. Eventually they lose, except for when they go to the Supreme Court. But you see, we got these. This is the type of people that we're dealing with. That, like you said, you wake up every day hoping that you don't hear something new that's bad, but you do all the time. And now we got to go through this. Unfortunately, we got to keep dealing with this madman until somebody wake up and do what I suggested a long time ago. But anyway, that's another.
Let me take you back to the statement you made about the black people not going out and protesting anymore. So if that's the case, and I can understand you gave reasons for you saying that and not, because it could be very dangerous, and that's what they're looking for, to get a bunch of us out there and put the agitators in there, because it's already been proven in a lot of our Black Lives Matter protests, they had people out there setting the fires and doing everything, and starting and making it look like it was us that was doing it. And we come from a long line of peaceful protests.
Yes.
And just like the what's the name of that bridge? the Tillis Bridge. You
Yeah.
know, we out there peacefully protesting, and the
Well, let
state
me
police they started that.
yes. Yes.
So, you know, but you saying don't go out there and protest. So what can we do, or what should we be doing collectively? Because we have to do something. You know,
Yes.
I know having a platform like this, or putting your boots on the ground locally and convincing, putting the right people in local office. We talk about that a lot. You know, people kind of overlook local office sometimes when it comes down to these national issues, because a lot of times localities don't require you to declare if you're a Democrat or Republican or independent. So you don't know how these people feel nationally, where they stand nationally. But it's getting more now. People are looking or asking that, or trying to find that out about their local officials. And I advocate for that. Know what your local officials' affiliation is when it comes down to how they feel about if they're Democrat or Republican, and how they feel about the national news, how they feel about the present administration, and things like that. Because that's important. You might not think it's important locally, but it's important. A lot of the issues they vote on, if they feel a certain way about some national issues, it can affect you
Yes.
here locally. So
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, because this is what happened yesterday to me. We have our local county executive race going on, and sometimes you if you're home, you get a direct call from one of the candidates. So one of the candidates called me today, and that was random, but he called me, and he wasn't expecting to run into the conversation that he ran into. But the point is that what you said is true, and I encourage everybody. If somebody's running for a school board, ask them what their politics is. Ask them where they stand with MAGA. If somebody is running for city council, in those areas where you don't have to identify your party, ask the people where they stand. Just ask them, where do you stand on these particular issues? Even if they are not local issues, you need to know what these people think on a national issue. You know, so I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what you do. And then moving on to the marching, I'm saying this because, as you know, I was out there been out since 2016. Most of the time I was out there by myself. Matter of fact, it's such a small group of us who protest regularly in DC. We all know each other now. That's why we know.
Is that mostly a vet organization? Is that mostly vets that are out there that you're involved with? Or it's a combination of everybody?
And some people who just fed up.
Support the
most of them are veterans. Some Black veterans, female. Be honest, there's more female Black veterans that protest with us than there are Black male veterans. And I challenge anybody on that, because I tell people all the time,
why is
watch
that?
the video.
Why is
the video
that?
from the marches.
Are the female vets more politically conscious?
Yes, we have more females who out there protesting with us. And I'm talking about on the major one. Now, there's always somebody having a little weekly thing, and there's different groups. But I'm talking about the top groups that we have heard, the 50-50, you know, the No King Day, the Fight Fascism, and groups like that, the big groups. But we got some local groups here like Mayday and some other names that you may not have heard that have their own little protests around here. And sometimes
how effective has it been for people that might be watching, that might want to, vets that might be watching?
That's another thing that that's why I keep telling people, if you live in this area, now I can't speak for in Virginia and places like that, but if you live in this area, Baltimore, DC area, if you say you could not find a protest, you're lying. And I tell you, lying to your face, because there's always something going on in Baltimore or DC almost on a bi-weekly basis. They even have stand-up protesters that you can go to, like at the Heritage Center. You know, the Heritage group of people are the ones who pick out Supreme Court justices for the Republicans. They have the Heritage Foundation. And the Heritage Foundation were the ones, that's where they sat and wrote Project 25. They wrote it at the Heritage Foundation in DC. There's a local guy who does a protest in front of them almost on a daily basis. So if you don't know anywhere to go, you can go there. Now they're doing a 4 o'clock protest in front of the ICE office. And then, like I said, there's 2 or 3 different groups locally who are always doing something. Even if they can only get 100 people, they'll go and march in front of the White House.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger ones that I'm talking about are the ones that you rarely see us at any of them. And then you look nationwide, no matter, except for you going to Philadelphia or New York, you will see very few of us in the audience, okay? But what I'm saying now is, because a lot of people have criticized me for saying we ought to be on the streets and everything. But this is one now I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with everyone who says that, because it came right out of what we say the Steve Bannon, Stephen Miller playbook.
Mm-hmm.
They want a race war. Stephen Miller has been a racist since he was in high school. It's documented. Steve Bannon is a racist. It's documented. These are the people.
He's a racist opportunist.
Yeah. And they the one who have his ear. Stephen Miller has his ear more than the actual chief of staff, who's a woman that they keep just walking all over. Yeah. Okay. And you have Pete Hegseth, I call him Hedgehog. He goes to the church of Doug Williams. Anyway, his name is Doug Wilson. He goes to his church. The Secretary of Defense goes to the church of a white supremacist pastor. Okay, so I'm saying all this to say that my previous position was that we need to be out there in the street marching, showing that what we have to lose. But right now, I'm telling people, I don't want to give this administration an excuse to kill one black soul over his racist policy, because that's what they want to do. And it's not a coincidence that they arrested 4 black people today. 2 of them are journalists, and the other 2 are political people who spoke against Donald Trump, who was at or near that church. And it's not a coincidence, again, that they didn't use the term handcuffs. They used the term chains. And last thing that I let you take over again, I want to remind all these people who do all this bragging and supporting of rappers in the rap world. You have your girl, Nicki Minaj, who was on TV begging the president and asking that the president arrest Don Lemon because of what Don Lemon said about her on his show. And everything that he said on her show is true, because she's, like I said about some athletes, if you're a dumbass athlete who don't understand politics, shut up. Don't open your mouth. If you don't understand politics, don't say a damn thing. I say the same thing about people in the entertainment world and the music industry. If you don't understand politics, shut up. Just keep your mouth shut. You be smarter just keeping your mouth shut. But now we know where she's coming from. She has sold out all of us, all the black people. She has sold us all out just to look out for her own big ass, you know. And I'm not even gonna give her the credit of calling her a fat ass. You know, we like the fat ass. Some of us do. But I'm just gonna give her because she looked like a white pumpkin in the outfit that she wore in front of in front of the White House, giving them and kissing their ass and saying that this is the best president she ever had.
Yeah, now, that was awful. I'm just gonna real quick. I'm gonna play a little bit. I hope I can get this. Don Lemon is giving speaking out right now. Let me.
It's been overwhelming, and I do
can you hear that
right now that people understand that, again, this is a very critical time, and I hope that this continues and to support not just me. If I can be the catalyst for or the inspiration for people to say, finally, stand up to the powers that be in our government, and also, quite frankly, having come from corporate media for a long time, to stand up to the gatekeepers, the corporations, and say, no, I am not going to bend the knee to this administration. I am not going to put on liars and insurrection deniers and election deniers. I'm not going to give my platform to those people. I'm not going to put people on television and give them a platform, people who come on just to lie and to offend and to insult people. It's insulting to the American people. This is not folly. It's not funny. This is not a game. If you look at any tyranny or any autocracy, any sort of dictatorship, the first thing they do is they get rid of the media. They
That's
try to
right.
silence the media. Ask Turkey about that, Erdogan. Ask Iran about that. Ask any country that has lost its way,
that's the
that has been
fascist way.
overtaken by a dictator. They get rid of the press first. And so we need to start standing up. And I got to say that from what I've heard, I haven't had a chance to see it.
This is what
I've
we've been
heard that
saying.
My former colleagues at CNN all came out pretty unanimously, pretty strongly to support me. I understand. I believe that CNN released a statement. I've heard that CNN released a statement. Thank you very much. I have no animus for CNN. I have no animus for anyone, but I tell the truth as about what I see. And I think it's time for all journalists to stand up for each other. So I appreciate that. And at CNN, I worked with the best journalists in the world. So I wish them nothing but the best. But I believe those journalists as well need to stand up to the corporation. They need to tell Warner Brothers Discovery, stop playing and get your hands out of the newsroom. CBS needs to tell Paramount and David Ellison and whatever, get out of our newsroom.
Let the news
Get out of our
people be
journalism.
news
Barry
people.
Weiss, take
That's
your
right.
hands off of it. Let the journalists be the journalists.
Yes, indeed.
All of them. That goes for every single corporate entity that owns a journalistic organization. Let the journalists be the journalists, because they're going to save our democracy if you just let them do it. The way to stand up to a bully, to a tyrant, is not to bend the knee. It's not to acquiesce. It is to metaphorically punch them right in the nose. And you need to introduce not only Donald Trump
That's when you see
and the folks who
Trump
work for him,
back down,
and
when
his
you
administration,
stand up to him.
but the corporate overlords and the gatekeepers. You need to introduce them to the word no. All the journalists, they cannot fire you. We were always taught when I worked in corporate media that the news is a star. That's bullshit. If the news was a star, everybody would have the same ratings. And everybody doesn't have the same ratings. The journalists are the stars. The people who are delivering the news, those are the stars.
Walter
And the people who
Cronkite.
do it well, do
Mhm.
well, they get the ratings and they get the respect.
Mike
So
Wallace.
it is, and actually having come from that, and now I understand that what my star quality is, that is being honest and authentic and telling the truth. And I think that's, if everyone did that and they were not afraid of the powers that be, that's our motto. That's our mission. Just like a doctor, just like a lawyer. What we're supposed to do is hold the powerful to account and do no harm. And if you don't want to do harm to the American people, then stand up for democracy. Stand up for the First Amendment. So thank you so much. CNN journalists, I love you. Dana Bash, thank you. Jake, thank you. Aaron Burnett, thank you to all of the people over at CNN who I like. And thank you to Bill
Dana
Anderson,
Bash
and I
put
too,
it on that,
who I worked with forever,
ICE
for
guy.
putting out a statement. And thank you
I
to
love
the
watching
folks on
her show.
MSNBC. Thank you to
Took him
Scott
out of his
Galloway and
job.
to everyone. I got a funny note from Anthony Scaramucci just a moment ago, and he said, "We were on your show today, but you weren't there. You must have been busy." So I appreciate that humor, Anthony. But for so many people who have come on, look, I just want to tell you that, I also want to thank all of the folks who are, the foreign journalists who are in war zones. Just everyone. Thank you so much. I mean, my heart is, I am overwhelmed. I haven't had a chance to read but a few texts from folks. I just got off the phone with my mom for the first.
We'll watch him later. I just wanted to
I'm
hear
glad you put it on.
some of what he's saying, because he's gotten home and kind of speaking out. And I'm gonna watch the full part of it lately. But he mentioned something about the journalists. Remember the journalists that used to be out there with the soldiers in Vietnam?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It was
so and when I think about him being in that church and saying, "I'm a journalist. I'm just showing what's going on," and they saying he incited. Imagine them coming on those journalists that was risking their lives in the jungle just so they could chronologize or use their journalistic knowledge to show what was actually happening over there in Vietnam. And they come back, and it might have been the case, and they accuse them of causing the war.
Yes.
I mean, it's like it might not exactly be apples to apples, but it's pretty close apples to apples.
Well,
You know, the same thing they accused him of, or trying to accuse him of, and he was just reporting what was going on, not inciting those people over there in wartime. Right alongside, only thing they had in their hand was a camera or a pad and pencil, and they depended on those soldiers to protect them so they could tell their story.
well, you know, and by you saying that, it brings up what President Johnson said about Walter Cronkite. Is that when they did that series on Vietnam back in the day, and he said basically if we lost him, we lost America, because that's when it was because of reporting from independent and at that time the legacy ABC, NBC, and CBS, that the legacy media before CNN, way before CNN. It was because those reporters were embedded in the real situation. Is part of the reason why Vietnam came to the end. It wasn't the whole reason, but it was part of the reason, because they brought the war into the United States living rooms, and that was because of media input. And when you look at what's went on in Iran and Iraq and the Persian Gulf situation, and even in Afghanistan, to a point, we would not have known of any of the bad things that was going on if it wasn't for media that was embedded there to tell the truth. And so now we live in a system now where we got a president who persuaded his billionaire buddies to buy all three of the legacy stations, all three of them. Then you have Jeff Bezos, who has more money than all of them, still feels as though he don't have enough money, he don't have enough toys. So then he has to kiss Donald Trump's ass and fires half his editorial board, fires all the black folks that work there on the editorial board. Then he goes out there to buy this piece of crap movie for his wife that I've been told in Australia, one ticket was sold.
That's all that.
And then you have, and so now you can't trust the media at all, because all the legacy media is owned by Trump supporters. All the other media is owned by Trump supporters. So all we have to believe or listen to are the independent media, like Roland Martin, Don Lemon, and Gale. That's all we have now. We in the Midas Touch Network and maybe a few others.
Midas Touch.
Now you can't believe anything that you hear if it's coming from legacy media, and you damn sure can't believe anything that you hear to come out of the Trump administration's mouth.
Joy Reid, and it's a lot of other people out there doing something. Even these, I can't think of the name. These two white ladies that come on. And,
I like those two ladies.
You know,
they don't play.
They tell it like it is, and
tell it like it is.
You can tell that they're sincere, and they talk about, you know, we are the privileged white ladies, you know, we be around friends, and we hear this stuff. So
that's right.
We're telling you what we hear. And before I go on any further, let me give a shout out to Jensen Light Baker, acai brother. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just an ongoing thing that we're just going to have to deal with in a special way, or everybody can deal with it in a way that's comfortable for them. But please do something. Yeah. I mean, you know, some people say you're older now. It was a time, you know, you're probably in better shape than me, but I'll be right out there like you. But I can't do it as much here. I will get out. But you just find your niche, whatever you can do. If it's sharing information or bringing people on to talk like yourself, or experts, or bringing on psychologists to look into human behavior and why people are acting like that, and you have a platform, do that, whatever you do, or just have those talking points and bring people on to remind people to stay aware, because a lot of people, you know, don't watch all these people you mentioned. You know, they rather watch, and I'm nothing against it. They rather watch the soap operas.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with being entertained. You know, but sometimes people work hard and they don't want to come home to something heavy. They want to be entertained. They want to have something light. But you have to make a little bit of time in your day or your week to bring yourself up to speed with what's happening around you, because eventually it's going to affect you, if not you directly, your grandkids, your nieces, nephews, your neighbors, somebody that you care about. So that's why it's important for these type of programs, you know, to catch some of those people that we, you know,
Yes, I
that
know we got.
don't always pay attention and
Yeah.
don't know what to do, or think they can't do anything. It's a
Yeah.
lot of things you can do, even if it's just talking one-on-one with your next door neighbor, or that employee that you have on your job that might be white or brown, or have a different opinion than yours. Just have a discussion with that person. You might not change his mind. You might understand him better. You might disagree with him still,
Mhm.
but at least y'all are having a conversation, and no telling what that conversation might lead to. Now, if they're ignorant, you know, they one of those true Trumpers, I mean, it's no talking to them.
Well,
You know,
well,
you will waste your time there.
Yeah.
You know, but if you got somebody that has that's reasonable and willing to talk and feel a certain way, and, you know, it might be worth your time to have that conversation, you can do that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's always something that all of us can do. We can't just sit back and let all this stuff happen.
we can't.
And you have to pick your battles. You can't just run out there because everybody else is protesting, because they're going to treat us different. They're going to treat this a little different. You know, if they shooting white people in the head, what do you think?
They'll do to us.
What do you think? You know, they'll put us on the back of a truck and drag us down the street. And it wasn't like that happened a long time ago,
Mhm.
because it was a truck. So it was during the time when we had cars. You know, it wasn't like they were dragging you behind a horse.
That's
They
right.
dragged this guy on the back of a truck
Back of a
down the
truck.
street, where
And laugh
everything,
about it.
and laughed about it. All his body parts fell off. I mean,
all of it. You can't be any crueler than that situation.
Right.
You know, but I know our time is short, but I want to bring up something before we leave that you mentioned about what can we do, since I'm recommending people not to be on the streets, and
Sure.
we're gonna have the No King Day. That's separate from what I'm talking about. I'm talking about standard weekly protests.
Or just going out there because of what happened
The
today,
big
and saying, I'm
coming up.
upset.
The No King Day at this moment is scheduled in March, the next No King rally. But what I encourage people, and you know a lot of people who have the small churches and medium-sized churches,
Mhm.
and I say this to my own family, you can protest in front of your own church and be comfortable. You can just get some signs and be right on the corner. You know, my sister did 5 or 6 protests in Suffolk, right on the corner next to the one of the major stores there in Churchland. They went on the corner and they just did sign wavings for an hour.
Okay,
You don't have to have
was
no
that
big
recently?
demonstration.
Was that recently?
Yeah, Arlena
Okay.
did. Yeah, they had.
Yeah,
She done 6 sign waving protests in Suffolk.
Okay.
Like I said, next to the big shopping center.
Yeah, I saw her the other day, so
Yeah,
I got to
and
make sure.
and all they did was stand in the corner for an hour
Mhm.
and wave signs. People honk. 90% of the times you can get a 90% positive responses. Okay,
Right.
yes, you can get a few Trump people because we are in the South,
Right.
but that is a small thing that anybody can do. You can stand in front of your own church for an hour. You can go and find a sign waving group that's on the corner that's only going to be there for an hour. That's something that you can do, and I recommend that you do. And anyone within the sound of this show that have access to the religious community, you know, every city has a United Black Clergy or something like that.
Mhm.
Encourage them to encourage their people to do private neighborhood type protests. Those are safer, and you know the people you'll be around. So I want to encourage people to do that. But in the meantime, I really will try to ask people not to, except for the big national protests, don't get into these little things, because right here, and when we was at the last one, my wife was with me. When we had one of the ones, we know who the agitators are. They come, they run through our crowd sometimes. Most of the time, they don't do nothing. But it's been more frequent. When we first started protesting, you wouldn't see any Trump supporters. Now, almost every protest, no matter how big or how small it is, you have these agitators that's come in, and some of them poses as reporters. They have cameras, they have microphones and everything, and they pose as reporters, and all they're asking you are right-leaning questions, and that tells you who they're representing. And I want to remind people in this audience also, it's not just Fox News. You have Newsmax, you have News One,
yeah.
you have NAN, you have the guy, the pillow talk guy.
And there are independents on the other side as well.
Yeah,
but I think it's more independents on the liberal side than it is independents out there talking.
He has
crazy
2 TV
stuff.
stations. A lot of people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And what his specialty is, he will always have these young, attractive white women come up to, often is a dumb Negro, and ask them a question, and then they come in all smiling in their face to get the Negro to say what they want them to say. And I've been right next to these fools, and they always got on a short skirt. They're always showing their breasts, especially during the summertime. And they work for the My Pillow guy, and he owns 2 stations that he does, and he have them operating out of DC. And he sends the same group of girls to every protest that we have ever been. And the whole thing is they always try to find a person of color or a woman even to get them to say what they know the My Pillow guy
First
wants
time,
to
and
hear.
she's worried, and my nieces and my
So
family in Louisiana. And look, I got to thank some people who came to my rescue.
So be safe about that.
Sorry, I hit the button wrong button. But yeah, and thanks, and yeah, we will be going now, but didn't have a certain time we can go. I wanted to have the freedom to sort of not restrict it to an hour, but so I wasn't going to say an hour or 2 hours or an hour and a half. So it's about an hour and a half now, but that's fine. I wanted us to be able to say, but I want to thank you for the support, because I also want to mention too the support you gave to Portsmouth Coffee Talk and to the other show we had on the Portsmouth African American Historical Society. And as we talk about all these current events that happens every day, we also have to be mindful of our history and preserving and making sure we display that. And that's one of the things this group is doing here, is trying to make sure they preserve and display. We have a lot of information in this little colored library that they preserved, but they have so much more information about the history of Portsmouth that's in storage, and they just trying to find space to display that, and especially so the school kids can come around and see that. Because if we start losing, if the generations to come start losing sight of the history, or the people that made history, or the people that sacrificed so much for them to be able to do what they're doing now, or for them to be able to see that in many ways history is repeating itself, because we are good for not paying attention to history and we just let it repeat itself time after time. And that's on us. We see it, but it's a lack of knowledge of not really knowing the history. But imagine, we know some history because they were taught to us in school, but they're trying to take it out. Yeah. Imagine a whole generation that knows nothing past 2025.
And one speech by King.
And one part of the speech by King, when he made so many other significant points
Very,
that
very,
were considered radical, but everybody wants to put him in. You know, the white folks want to see a peaceful king.
yes.
You know, we can deal with that. Him saying content, you know, color doesn't matter, but he said some radical things during that speech and other speeches that he wrote that we should be aware of, that I wasn't aware of, because all we heard, right, coming
Yep.
up through school was the "I have a dream," and you know that was, and that's why you see so many white people repeating that, because it's comfortable to them, that
Yes.
part of it.
They don't.
But
They don't want you to hear. And I know you read the book, and I read it. Where do we go from here?
yeah,
Nobody wants to talk about that. You
I
know,
got that book.
because I think we when the Colonel was on one time,
Yeah,
we talked about where King was going the next week had he lived. He was going to the UN to once again talk about the money that's being spent in the Vietnam situation and the military-industrial complex. And the gentleman, I can't think of his name right now, but he was a influencer of that day.
yeah,
And he was a person who had more than a few, change in his pocket. And he said then that he always knew that at some point that King would not be around, because he had been told that he's messing with the wrong side.
yeah. You don't get assassinated for saying I've been to the mountaintop, and we should be judged by the character, our character, not by the color of our skin. They don't kill you for that.
No, he
There's
was
those other things he said. And when he met with Johnson, you think he was in there clowning? All the films you see, they sit in there laughing, smiling and everything. But he laid it on Johnson in the meetings, and that's why Johnson did what he did.
That's right.
And that's why, because he knew Johnson had the influence, whether they liked him or not. At that time, he had that influence where he'd go in Congress and make these demands. Say, look, if y'all don't vote for this, don't worry about getting, So, but he had to get to Johnson, those meetings or that part of the meeting we don't know about. He won't just go in there and tap dancing and saying, "Oh, yes, boss." He was laying it on him and said, "Okay, I got a lot of people behind me."
Now you can't leave a meeting without the minutes coming out immediately. Right. If you have noticed, we have never seen all the minutes from the meetings that King has had. At least if you have seen it, let me know. But all the things we know about it is the people who were there, like at the time, like Andy Young, who would tell you, some of the things that was mentioned. But we don't have those minutes from those meetings in them days to say what really King, how he laid it down. But when I heard the gentleman from the UN talk about the people who came to him, they say that Dr. King has gone too far because he's messing with the military-industrial complex now. And he said himself he didn't think King had long to live. This was before he was just a couple of days before he was assassinated at that time. And that tells you something right there, because King talked about the military industrial complex. He talked about the money that was wasted in Vietnam and the money that was going to be put forward in the future, and what money that could be done, but better, the money could be done used here with our people. So
he even got on the
read that book. Where do we go from here?
He even got on the black fraternities and sororities, and he was an alpha about how powerful they can be and how they need to be doing more because of the power that they could have within their organizations, and especially if they all came together.
Don't get me started with them.
So that could, to think how powerful that could be now. And
look,
this will be the last thing I'll say, and I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, look. Let me say this, because I know you are a fraternity kind of person.
No, I was. My last fraternity was at Norcom, Acai.
You didn't join none of that?
No, I didn't. I came close, but I didn't.
Oh,
My dad was. My dad was.
all right. Well, look, let me just say this real quickly. I give them credit, and we know this.
They do a lot. I'm not taking anything from them. They do
Yeah.
a lot.
I'm correct. When W.E. Du Bois mentioned the term the talented tenth, he's talking about our fraternities and sororities.
Mhm.
And this is the thing I give them credit for. They are the most gifted and talented amongst us. They're the most educated amongst us. They're the most well-traveled people amongst us. So my problem that I have with the fraternities and sororities is that I do not believe, and they would tell you this separately, that of all the power that they have, and when I say power, I'm not talking about economic power, I'm talking about the power that they can use from what they have learned that can be shared with the rest of us and other people, and the power to lead. That's my main problem that I have. And I know they all got a story about charities and all that kind of stuff and scholarships, but let's be honest with ourselves. With all the alphas, omegas, deltas, and all the other groups, sigmas, and with all those people from all the years that have been going to college with a Greek in their name, the Divine Nine. I say the same thing that I say about some of the other people, about the rappers. Where is your total influence on everything that we need today? Individual people have always stood out, and you and I both know that. But what I'm saying is they are the best and the brightest that we have in the United States of America. And this is my personal feel. I'm not asking anybody to feel the way I feel. I just feel because of the brain power that I know that exists in our fraternities and sororities. I believe that we should, and they should have more of an impact on our daily lives than they do at this moment. Now, some people might say I'm putting too much on them. I may be, but again, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Much is expected. And one of the things I've been trying to do for a while, and maybe I'll put more effort into it, is have a panel discussion with the Divine Nine, because it might be a lot that we don't know that they might be doing, and some of them might tell you they might need to be doing a lot more, but it might be, I think it would be fair to have the members of the Divine Nine, and that would be especially locally here, and it could be, doesn't have to be necessarily locally. It could be between the DMV, like we do a lot of things together. Just have representatives from each one of those groups, and just have a discussion, and they can talk about the things that they're doing, and the things and their wish list, and we could be more informed, and it might lead to something where they would do more, at least in the DMV or our areas, and then that could spread out, because you're talking about a lot of people. You're talking about a lot of voices, and like you said, the most educated, and we see a lot. Yeah, now back in the day, all those guys you mentioned, Du Bois and Roy Wilkins, all them guys were in a fraternity.
That's right.
It's like it was a rite of passage. If you went to college, that's what you did, and of course you had the Masons as well.
Yes.
So it's a lot of different organizations and groups that collectively we could rule the world.
and that's why I'm saying again, I don't really think that I'm asking that much. And again, I don't want anyone out there to say I'm attacking the fraternity sorority, because I'm not. I'm praising you. I'm giving you the credit that I know that you are worth. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm not attacking one fraternity, one sorority. I'm not putting any of them down, because I have worked with them. I'm working with some of them right now locally, doing some local projects, because and I know what they can do. I mentioned to you the last time we talked, the alphas are taking over our annual King Dinner. I've been pushing that for years.
Yeah.
We have a Fannie Lou Hamer event every year. We've done it for over 30 years now. I think that one of the sororities should take over the Fannie Lou Hamer event. We've been pushing it, as a handful of people for years. I think they can do that. So again, I just want to make it clear that they're the best and the brightest. And I think that we can, as you say, we can't really literally at least rule this part of Black America if we had the groups like that step to the forefront. I ain't asking for 100%, but I think we need more than the 5 or 10% that we're getting now, and that's even if we're getting honestly, even if we're getting 10%. I just think that they are the people that can do it, and I'm praising them because I know that they have the skill factors to do it.
Yeah, and we covered a lot of subjects, just the two of us, and I'm really going after this, but I wanted you to let the people know. I noticed when they had the King dinner that annually you personally, or is your family or something, have a scholarship that you give to a deserving student. Let the audience know about that. I think a lot of people don't know about that, and how long you all been doing it, and what's involved with it.
Well, let me be, because I'm gonna cut a long story short, because I can talk. So I'm gonna knock it down to the bare facts. Myself and one of my nephews, Angelo Sykes, who has a business in Atlanta, at some point, him and I sat down, and I told him, I said, look, we are in a position now where we can give the first scholarship to our own family members. I say that's something that all Black people should do, is to have a family scholarship. So I talked to him. I said we should get going some kind of way that every year a Bracy or a Sykes or another Bracy, because my mother was a Bracy with an EY and my father was a Bracy with just a CY.
Yeah,
and one of the family,
that's amazing within itself.
My sister Mary Sykes, and then we got the Lewis sister. So the point was that just to have a scholarship that we would give a family member, a deserving family member, every year at graduation time. So that's how it started. But what happened, unfortunately, the first person who was supposed to receive the scholarship, he died too young. That's a whole long story. So then when I locally, a friend of mine named Robert Eves, and Robert Eves is the epitome of a person who went to prison. He was a drug dealer, and y'all, how I feel about drugs. I feel bad. I despise drugs as much as I do rappers. But if you go to prison, you serve your time, you learn your lesson, you come out and you change your community. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what Malcolm X did. Right. Robert Eves is a person that I met. Actually, I met him almost 2 years before I saw his face, because he was in prison.
Yeah, we have quite a few guys doing great work here in that same situation.
Yeah, he was in prison for selling drugs in Annapolis in the Baltimore area. He was a big time drug dealer at that time. And I did not know the person, but I was the president of an organization that was dealing with people who was in prison. And I met this person through writings, because you couldn't telephone, you didn't have cell phones then. I met him through writings. And so he was writing me, asking for justice and things that was needed in the prison system, because they was being abused and things of that nature. When he went to prison, he could barely write, but he learned to write very well while he was in prison. And then when I read his letter the first time, the first thing I said to him, I said, man, hire somebody who can write like this. What are you doing in prison? He said, Brother Bracy, I wasn't like that when I went to prison. He said, I learned how to write when I was in prison. So we met when he got out of prison, and then we stayed friends from that point on. Unfortunately, he passed away from cancer, and at his funeral, I made the pledge, because you see, when you talk to somebody who came from the hood, Robert Eves came from the hood. Now, if you want to know some of the people like Sweet Wolf and people like that we knew coming up, you can attach any person we would consider a thug or hoopnum, as we used to call him in the day. This was Robert Eves. Matter of fact, he was worse than they were. So but when he came out of prison, he was a changed human being. He went back to his community. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to go redeem himself, talk people against drugs. He was going to go on the street corners and convince the brothers to go another way. Every king dinner, he would bring a table full of young people to the king dinner. Every king dinner he did that until he died. And I would help him out sometimes with the funding to get the young people there. And so I met a person, like I say, like Malcolm X, who turned their life around. And I've always been for people having a second chance. And this is a brother who had a second chance. So on the day of his funeral, I made a pledge that his name would never be forgotten as long as I'm living. And I made a pledge to have a scholarship in his name, Robert E's a scholarship fund, until the day I die. And that is how that scholarship came about. And now, since he passed away, we have done over $10,000 from the Bracer Foundation, which is me and my wife. You know, I actually started it, and then my wife came on board, and I was very happy for that because she's a beautiful woman and she supports the thing. But I started it first on my own, and then, like I said, since we've been married, he's been a part of this Robert E's Foundation. But we have not limited it to just to that. Like I said, we still do the family thing because we try to get our family people, and all our family people need to get economically conscious to putting money away. As soon as the baby comes out of the womb, you should start having money in some kind of college fund. No one should be worried about a scholarship. You scholarship yourself. And that was the whole point of us doing it, was to give a scholarship to a family member when they graduate every year. That's how I started. And then, like I said, locally, I made it the same thing for Robert E's, the scholarship to address people who are needed. Now, this is not a scholarship for somebody who has it all. This is designed for people who come from the hood and do still have a few projects in the area like that, who are trying to get ahead. The comparison would be Jefferson Wilson back in the day. Mm-hmm. And the Homes projects, neighborhoods like that, the Newtown side of Portsmouth at one point, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The whole point is to give a scholarship to a needy student from the neighborhood who has potential to get ahead. And I'm proud to say that we done had 2 graduates who received the first 2 Bracer scholarships. One from Morgan State and one from Maryland State Eastern Shore, since we started the Robert E. Scholarship. I'm proud to say that they graduated. We got a 3rd one graduating from Morgan State this year.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good that y'all track them and see what they do after they receive that scholarship. So often we give the scholarships and we don't know what happens to them. I think it's important to track them, or they let you know what they're doing. I think that's
one of the ladies sent me a young lady from Morgan State because I normally I don't even select the people. I let the committee, the Martin Luther King committee, select the person. I don't select the person; they do. Mm-hmm. And I normally just limit my relationship to handing them the check. I don't follow up. I say you can follow up if you want to. And I'm fortunate to say that all the people who have selected these young men and women who have received the scholarship, they all check back in. Now, keep in mind, it's a $1,200 scholarship, so that's good enough for some books and things of that nature. Yeah. It's not paying your whole tuition.
Right.
But
it's a great start.
It does 2 things. Just like in my family, there's no one who have received the Bracer scholarship that can say that their first scholarship came from somebody else other than the family. That's one. And then the people who have received the Bracer scholarship here, they can't say for the rest of their life that nobody, no African American, didn't look out for them at some point. Their first scholarship came from a person that looked like me and you.
Yeah.
And that says a lot. That's something.
Thanks. I I saw that and I said, I hope I get a chance to let him uh, talk about that and tell about it. You know, a lot of people can learn from that, and it's an investment in our future, really.
That's right.
You know, anytime we invest in our students, it's an investment in our future. And you know,
But thanks for letting me say that.
yeah, I appreciate you doing it. And
Oh,
shout
I
out.
got to throw this in here real quick.
Mhm.
Because I sent you. I was trying to get your attention when you had a lady on. I'm glad I tuned in that night to watch that show. With the lady from the library.
Yeah.
I got to put a thing out. I got to get on those executives. I'm sure there's some executives still living in Portsmouth, Virginia. Because I wanted to say, and you don't have to see what I donated, but I want to say is that what that young lady was doing on your show is what we should demand to keep going. And there's no reason, you know yourself, there's enough Black people, if they just gave $100 a year,
Yeah.
$100 a year, that's not a lot of money. But you and I know enough Black people. Just imagine if 10,000 Black people donated just $100 to her cause. You know that would do a hell of a lot for her program and what she wants
At
to
some
do.
point, they wouldn't
That's
have to
right.
look for a
So-
space. They could build a building
Yes.
for that.
That's right.
For
They can
African
fix that
American.
building up. They can get some new bricks. They can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So I asked you to do it, but since I'm here now, I want to say all those executives from the days that we was at Alcee Knockham High School
And diplomats.
fraternity and the remaining Imperials, I would like to challenge you all to send some money to this young lady and say it's from my high school fraternity. Whether it's the executives, and I'm getting those executives, they're the ones who had all the alleged money back then. Executives and the remaining empiricals, please donate a minimum of $100 to help out with that program to keep that program going. I had to put that out there.
And that goes for the diplomats and the ambassadors and the Black bishops.
Yes. Call them all out because I don't know them.
All y'all guys.
Know you know them, but call them all out. I'll tell them. See, what's that? That's $500 right there, right?
Yes.
That's $500. I mean, that's just the name. That's just for the organization. But I'm asking individuals to do it. But I guarantee you, if the last living president, if he's living, he give $100, then he call 4 or 5 executives, 4 or 5 dips, 4 or 5 imperials, and say, "Look here, man, $500. $100 each. Call 5 people. That's $500 right there. So now I done gave $1,500 to 3 organizations, right? The dips, the imperials, and executives.
Okay, I'll make a short of that challenge you just made, just in case somebody doesn't watch the whole video. You know how I make those shorts at the end, and put them out there for people that don't watch the whole video.
Yeah, put it out there. Five members from each one of them groups. That's $1,500. And I know that lady she'd be smiling this wide if she were to get $1,500 in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. We're only talking 5 people. 5 people. $100 each. Y'all can do it.
Yeah. That's shout out to Catherine. And thanks again, everybody, for watching. And Shona, take care. I hope you're feeling better. Shona was under the weather. But we'll see you next time. And thanks for hanging in there with us. We just had to come up here. And sometimes all it takes is me and Lewis. So we'll see you next time. And always remember to be aware, be informed, and most of all, be involved. We'll see you next time. Take care. Be our guest on the Portsmouth